Barkley had some thoughts about just how good his defending champion Eagles team was last year.
I firmly believe when you look at our team that we had last year, and I know we're not looking too far into the past, but our team last year, I think we're a top 5 team of all time. And I tell my boys this all the time. And like from how dominant you guys were on defense and how dominant we were on offense and special team, like people don't realize how great of a team that actually was.
Bill, it sounds like a lot, top 5 all time, but when you really think about it, what's your reaction?
He may have a case. I mean, all time is a lot. There's been a lot of great teams, but think about this Eagles team who was 14-3 last year. They could have been 16-1 if not for 2 drops, one of which you're seeing from Saquon Barkley early in a season against the loss to the Falcons, and then a Devontae Smith drop late in the year that would have helped seal up a win over the Commanders. If they catch those 2 passes, pretty good chance we're talking about a 16-1 regular season and then a dominant run to the postseason. So, kind of sounds like maybe some recency bias, and obviously Saquon has a little bit of a stake in this conversation, but they deserve to be considered among the greatest teams, certainly in recent NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, listen, different eras, different criteria. What do you think, Kevin?
Not crazy.
Not crazy.
Not crazy. Okay. I'm with Bill on some of these points. They had perhaps one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time, dismantling and overpowering an incredible Chiefs team that's had 2 straight Super Bowls coming into the game. They made them look like amateurs, frankly, which is the mark of true mastery of your sport, of roster building, all of that stuff. But to me, as unfair as it is, this stuff gets judged 10 years down the line. How did you defend it? How many gold jackets do you have on the roster? And it might be a lot. I'm looking around and seeing some of these guys, especially the young guys on their rookie contracts, and saying, hey, if this breaks right, we could have a gold jacket here, a gold jacket here. But I think time is the only judge of this. And I think Saquon's got a case for now. You can say it on a podcast in May, a couple months after the game. But I don't think you make determinations like this until 2035, 2036.
Yeah, and obviously they'll have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL next year, so we'll see how they do on the road to repeat. We do know this, speaking of their talent, they were having some fun today. Check out Saquon throwing up an alley-oop to Cooper DeJean, who slams it down. Mina, you got to take a look at this. Is there anything that Cooper DeJean can't do?
Wow.
No, I mean, we knew he could play basketball coming into the draft, and I think this was part of why, or it illustrates rather the athleticism that maybe was a little bit underrated by certain NFL teams. But he also said, I remember, that he could take Caitlin Clark one-on-one, which was the surest sign that he could play cornerback in the NFL because he has cornerback brain.
Yeah, I mean, and there's that Iowa connection, right? Because he played high school basketball in Iowa, one of their all-time leading scorers. But how about that pass, Kevin, from Saquon, too?
It's chemistry. That's when Howie Roseman can build a team in any sport.
I like it. I love it. All right, still to come. The NFL Live, it's a holiday weekend. We have a great Friday show for you today. So Saquon Barkley, did you hear this? He thinks last year's Eagles team is top 5 all time. Our crew has some thoughts on that. Also, as you know, it's yearbook season, so our friend Bill Barnwell, he's dishing out some superlatives. Find out who received what this offseason. Plus, Derrick Henry. Hey, this man got paid this week. Boomer sits down with King Henry to find out all about his role in the resurgence of the running back position. We have Mina Kimes with us. We have Kevin Clark with me here in studio. And Bill Barnwell, now he's been gone for a while because he and his wife just welcomed their first child. Graham, congratulations, Bill. You getting any sleep? I know everybody asks that with new parents.
More sleep than I get during a typical NFL season. So a little worse than your typical offseason, but I'll take it so far.
Okay, I guess that bar isn't very high then. All right, meanwhile, the Lions are sleeping a lot better now that Aiden Hutchinson has been cleared to return.
Hey.
The defense took a big hit after Hutchinson went down in week 6 of last season. In their first 5 games, they ranked top 7 in pass rush win rate. Say that 3 times fast. Sacks per game and opponents' yards per dropback. Then, without Hutch, they ranked in the bottom 6 in every single one of those categories. Here he is yesterday on whether he has some added motivation now returning from injury.
I would say there's motivation, not from it getting taken away, but me putting that on tape, and I had a lot of growth in those first 5 games to where I feel like you evolve as a player, and things were clicking at a high level, and I had a lot of thoughts at the time that were like, if I'm thinking about a golf swing, you have the good swing thoughts going on. Like, that's kind of pass rush, and I have these good pass rush thoughts, good things going on, and I feel like that's just going to carry over, and I'm going to continue to build on that.
I really love the analogy to swing thoughts in golf. What are your expectations for that defense with him back?
Well, certainly improved when he's back in the lineup for obvious reasons, one of the best pass rushers in football. I thought that they would add another pass rusher to complement him, though, and I was a little bit surprised. I think that was the expectation a lot of folks had of Detroit. But I think that the way they approached their roster was to help the pass rush in other ways. So starting here, the Lions' defense was actually better versus the pass than versus the run last year in just about every metric: DVOA, success rate, EPA per play. So in the first round, they go out, they get a big run-stuffing defensive tackle, Tyreek Williams. I think the hope is they'll be in more 3rd and longs. And then they added to the pass defense the secondary. You add DJ Reed in free agency, Avonte Maddox, Terrion Arnold is a rookie last year. Hopefully he takes another step, and as Registraw gets healthy. So I think their thinking is, if our secondary plays better and our run defense is better, we can help the pass rush and Aiden Hutchinson without adding another pass rusher.
First of all, Mina, I'm not going to talk about my golf swing because this only is an hour show, and I could talk about that for about 10 hours. So I'll just move on very quickly here. Aiden Hutchinson, at the time he got hurt after 4.5 games, had 45 pressures last year. It took TJ Watt 16 weeks to get 45 pressures. This is one of the most heartbreaking injuries we've seen in a long time. I would put it up there with Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago as one of the most devastating for a fan base because of what it means. It robbed us of one of the best NFC title games we've ever seen when you think about the Lions roster and the Eagles roster. But I think once he gets back and he's ready to rock, he is going to change this defense like he did last year. I love this Lions team. I think there are 2 rosters that are clearly above everybody else in the NFC. I would put the Rams a cut below. There's some projection there with some of their young guys, but the Lions are ready to win now in the same way that the Eagles are. So 24 guys on IR. If there's any health regression towards the mean, they're going to have a big year.
Kevin had to bring up regression towards the mean, knowing I was coming up next. Kevin's absolutely correct. Aiden Hutchinson was playing at a Defensive Player of the Year level last year, and the Lions had to change the way they played once he and Marcus Davenport went out. They changed their blitz rate. Aaron Glenn, kind of a guy who usually went into the blitz, didn't have to early in the year. They were 14th in blitz rate before the injury. Afterwards, they were 1st in the NFL in blitz rate. They had to send extra guys because they didn't have the pieces up front. And some weeks that worked out great, but we saw in the loss to the Bills, and especially that season-ending loss to the Commanders, when the blitz wasn't getting home, it was a disaster. They allowed 40 or more points in both those games. And so with Hutchinson now back, with Kelvin Shepherd taking over for Aaron Glenn as defensive coordinator, real questions about what they do on defense. Do they continue to lean into the blitz? Are they a top 5 blitz team? Or do you trust that front 4, trust the additions made this offseason that Mina mentioned, and lean into rushing 4, dropping 7 into coverage, being more conservative, but maybe more consistent for the Lions on a week-to-week basis on defense?
Yeah, and I think, Bill, that when you talk about the blitzing, how much they had to, and whether or not they can rush with 4, it really does tie back to the run defense quietly being an issue. And this was an issue, by the way, throughout the season, even before Aiden Hutchinson got injured. Because if they can get into more 3rd and longs with the help of that run defense, then it'll be easier for those 4 to rush the passer. You know, they still don't have that guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson, another opposite pass rusher who's really emerged. Josh Pascal is still in the lineup. You mentioned Davenport, who was last year got injured. But I think situationally they can help whoever